All right, so today we are taking a deep dive into Gewürztraminer.
Go.
We've got all sorts of articles and research here.
Lots to talk about.
Yeah, just about this one grape, and I have a feeling this is gonna be a fun one.
It is. It's gonna be good. This is a good one to talk about.
Yeah, so I guess maybe to get us started, for people who have never even heard of this grape before, what is Gewürztraminer all about?
It's a really interesting grape, actually. I mean, even where it comes from is interesting.
Okay.
A lot of people think sort of like a sunny vineyard in France, you know,
Right.
but it actually goes back to like the 11th century
Wow.
in the Italian Tyrol region,
Huh.
which is actually really mountainous terrain.
Really?
Yeah. So it's not your sort of typical picture perfect rolling hills kind of vineyard.
So not like a Tuscan villa?
No, not quite.
Okay.
But even the grape itself is interesting. It's these small, tight bunches with pinkish skin.
Hmm.
So not your typical, like, big, juicy grapes that you might picture.
Right, like a Cabernet or something.
Exactly. But the flavor's where it's at.
Okay, so mountainous origins going back to the 11th century. That's fascinating. How did it get from there to, the wines we know today?
Yeah, well, that's the mystery, right? Like, nobody knows exactly the journey of this grape through the centuries.
Yeah.
But by the time it got to Alsace, France,
Mm.
probably around the 16th century, it found a really good home.
Yeah.
And the name Gewürztraminer actually means spiced in German.
Oh, right.
So it gives you a hint of what this wine is all about.
Spiced feels like an understatement because I remember the first time I ever had this wine, I was just like floored by like how aromatic it was, just the smell alone.
Yeah,
It's really something else.
you open a bottle of this and it's unmistakable.
Yes.
That's Gewürztraminer.
Yeah, and it's so distinct too. Like you were saying, the name means spice, but it's not just like a straightforward
Yeah.
spice.
Like a
A perfume counter exploded or something.
Yes, and there's so many layers to it.
Yes.
You get the lychee, of course, that almost candy-like sweetness. But then it's like, wait a minute, is that rose I'm smelling? Or maybe a little grapefruit.
Yeah, or lime sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Or lime. And then things get even more interesting.
Yes, because then it's like, wait, is that ginger now?
Right.
Or is that like white pepper? It's wild.
It really is. And that's actually because of the chemical compounds in the grape itself.
Oh,
Things like terpenes and thiols,
okay.
which are also responsible for the aromas we find in things like roses, citrus fruits, and spices.
So it's not even just about where it's grown. It's like the grape itself is ready to bring those flavors.
Exactly. It's got that kind of exotic character built right in.
Wow. So, okay, so we've got these crazy aromas and flavors coming from the grape. But does that mean that all Gewürztraminers are basically the same?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about Alsace being like the perfect home?
Yeah.
Well, even within Alsace, there's so much diversity.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You've got different soil types,
Yeah.
granite, limestone, clay, and even like the smallest change in sunlight can make the grape taste totally different.
So it's like even if I see Alsace on the label, there's still a lot more to consider.
Absolutely, yeah.
Huh. Okay. Wow. This is a lot to take in.
It's a deep dive, right?
It really is.
That's what we're here for.
So, okay, let's say, hypothetically, I'm looking at a bottle of Gewürztraminer from Alsace.
Okay.
What should I be thinking about? Like, how do those different soils you mentioned change things?
Okay, so imagine this, right?
Yeah.
You're in Alsace, beautiful sunny vineyards. You can see the Vosges Mountains in the distance,
Love it.
and you're holding a glass of Gewürztraminer.
Okay.
Now think about the soil. If it's mostly granite, you're going to get a wine that's really intensely aromatic. Probably those lychee and rose notes we talked about.
Okay, I can picture that.
Yeah.
What about the other soils, though? What happens if it's not granite?
So if you see one that's grown on limestone, think elegance minerality.
Hmm.
Almost a salty tang to it.
Interesting.
It's definitely more restrained, but with a lot of depth. And then you've got clay soils, which tend to give you a richer, more full-bodied wine. So think like lychee with a little bit of honey, maybe even some apricot or ginger spice coming through.
Wow, and that's all just within Alsace.
Yeah, just within Alsace.
This is blowing my mind. I had no idea that, like, the ground itself could make such a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. And we haven't even gotten into the winemaking styles yet,
Oh, gosh.
which adds a whole other layer.
There's so much to it.
I know, right?
Okay, well, before we move on from Alsace, can we talk about Grands Chris for a second?
Yes,
Because I feel like you hear that term thrown around a lot.
you do. It's everywhere these days.
What are they exactly? Like, is it some kind of super Gewürztraminer?
Kind of, yeah. It's like the VIP section of Alsace vineyards.
Okay.
So these are really specifically designated plots of land that are known for having exceptional terroir.
So it's like the perfect combination of everything.
Yeah. Perfect soil, perfect sun exposure, the best of the best.
And the wines from there are supposed to be amazing.
They often have really incredible aging potential too.
Oh, wow.
So you can lay them down and they develop even more nuance and complexity over time.
So we're talking like honeyed notes, dried fruits.
Yeah.
Those spice notes get even more intense.
Exactly. They become like a whole other thing.
That's amazing. Okay, so Grand's Chris officially on my list now.
Yeah.
But getting back to like the average wine drinker who's maybe just discovering Gewürztraminer for the first time,
Yeah.
is there like a simpler way to think about all these regional differences?
There is. I mean, you can kind of think about it like a spectrum of styles.
Okay, I like that.
So on one end, you have your classic Alsace Gewürztraminers,
Okay.
which are usually dry to off-dry with that big fruitiness that we were talking about.
And that's where you get all that soil variation we discovered.
Exactly. So you can really go down a rabbit hole with that.
It's like choose your own adventure, but with wine.
Exactly. And then let's say you move over to Germany, maybe the Mosel Valley.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find things are a little bit different, still aromatic, but the wines are lighter bodied with a more delicate style.
Interesting. So less of a flavor explosion, more of a like a gentle breeze.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then if you go even further south to Austria, to a region like Warschau, you find wines that are a really beautiful balance of the grape's richness, but also this really vibrant acidity.
So it's like this grape is a chameleon or something.
It is. It's kind of amazing.
It adapts to all these different places and shows a different side of itself.
And there are even more unexpected places where it's showing up.
Really?
Oh yeah, Gewürztraminers popping up all over the world, even in places that you might not think of as ideal for a cool climate grape.
You're not talking about like tropical places, are you?
I am.
No way.
Yeah, Brazil, for example.
Like beaches and sunshine, Brazil.
That's the one.
I feel like that's the opposite of what this grape wants.
You would think so, right? But they have some really dedicated winemakers down there who are proving that it can be done.
Wow, so they're like defying the odds.
In a way, yeah. They've figured out that the higher altitude regions like Saragossa can provide the cooler temperatures that this grape needs to thrive.
Oh, smart.
And their Gewürztraminers are starting to get some serious attention.
That's amazing. So are we still talking like those signature lychee rose aromas, but with a Brazilian twist?
Exactly. You still get those hallmark flavors, but often with a touch of something a little tropical, maybe a hint of passion fruit or guava alongside the lychee and rose.
Oh my gosh, I need to try that.
It's really interesting stuff.
That's so cool. It's like they took the Gewürztraminer playbook and then put their own spin on it.
Exactly. They're not afraid to experiment.
I love that. Okay, so we've gone from the mountains of Italy to the sunny vineyards of Alsace, and now we're in Brazil.
It's been a journey.
It really has, and it's all thanks to this one grape.
One grape, a whole world of possibilities.
I love that. So for someone who's maybe listening to this and they're like, okay, this is all very interesting, but where do I even begin?
Right.
What would you say?
The one key takeaway here, I think the beauty of Gewürztraminer is that it really is a gateway.
Okay.
Like it can open your mind and your palate to a whole world of flavor.
It's definitely not a boring grape.
No, not at all.
If you want something subtle and understated, this is not the wine for you.
Exactly. It's a conversation starter.
I like that.
It's an adventure.
So, okay, let's say someone's listening to us right now and they're like, I want to try this wine.
Yes.
What's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Find a good wine shop.
Yeah.
Tell them you're interested in exploring Gewürztraminer. Maybe mention like a flavor profile. You're already like, do you have a sweet tooth or do you like things on the drier side?
Yeah.
And a good wine cellar will point you in the right direction.
Okay. So no need to be intimidated. Just ask for help.
Exactly. And then just enjoy the experience.
I love the... Okay, so pay attention to the aromas. Think about how it feels in your mouth.
Yes.
And of course, the most important part, pair it with food.
Yes.
See what happens.
Experiment.
Speaking of food pairings,
Yes.
I feel like Gewürztraminer often gets relegated to just dessert,
It does.
which is fine,
right.
but there's so much more to it than that.
So much more.
So what else can you do with this wine? What are we eating?
Think about the flavor profile, right? We've got lychee, rose, ginger, those kind of warm spice notes.
Yeah.
Those can complement a really wide range of cuisines, but it's especially well suited to dishes with a little heat.
Spicy food and Gewürztraminer.
It's a match made in heaven.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think Thai curries,
Okay.
Indian food,
Yes.
even Sichuan cuisine.
Interesting.
The slight sweetness in the wine can actually help to temper the heat, and then all those aromatic compounds complement the spices beautifully.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like this whole symphony of flavor happening in your mouth.
Okay. I'm sold. I need to try this pairing ASAP.
You have to.
What's your go-to? Like, if you're having people over and you're making this, what are you making?
I love a slightly off-dry Gewürztraminer with a Thai green curry. It's so good, those lychee and ginger notes in the wine with the coconut milk and the chilies.
Stop it.
It's incredible.
I'm so hungry right now.
The best.
This is torture.
Sorry.
It's sorry.
Oh, man. Okay, so spicy food, definitely a good call. Any other unexpected pairings?
Don't sleep on Gewürztraminer and cheese.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I would not have thought of that. It's amazing those aromatic cheeses like brie and camembert are a natural fit.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it can even stand up to some of the bolder blue cheeses.
Wait, blue cheese and Gewürztraminer.
I know, right? Sounds crazy, but it works.
How does that work?
It's all about balance.
Okay.
So the acidity in the wine cuts through the richness of the cheese, and then those aromatic compounds add this whole other dimension of flavor.
That's wild. Okay, so we've got spicy food. We've got cheese. What else? I feel like we need a few more ideas.
Don't overlook it with lighter dishes, too.
Okay.
It can be fantastic with white meats,
Okay.
fish, even dishes with tropical fruit sauces.
Interesting.
It's really versatile.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
So don't be afraid to try it with things that you might not expect.
Exactly.
Okay, this is great. I feel like we've covered so much ground here,
We have.
from the history to the flavors to all these pairing ideas.
It's a lot.
It really is. So I guess just to bring it back to the listener for a second, if someone's feeling inspired to try Gewürztraminer now, what's like the one thing we want them to take away from all of this?
I think it's all about keeping an open mind, right?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to experiment a little.
Exactly.
Don't feel like you have to be an expert to enjoy this wine.
Okay, love that.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who are ready to go on a little Gewürztraminer adventure, what's the best way for them to share their experience with us?
We want to hear all about it.
Yes.
Tag us on social media. Let us know what you're trying.
Yeah.
Tell us about your favorite pairings.
What you loved, what you hated.
Exactly. And maybe we'll even feature some of your discoveries in our next deep dive.
Ooh, yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right, so until then, happy sipping, everyone.
Cheers to that.